Soul and R&B station on the World Wide Web.
Access granted.
In Touch Radio.
Hey, it's Madam CJ, and I want you to listen to Trap Talk Radio at 8 p.m. every Thursday right here on In Touch News, www.intouchnews.com.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host, guests, and callers who are responsible for their content and do not reflect the opinions of In Touch Radio or its staff.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to another edition of In Touch Radio News, straight up the middle. This is yours truly. Are we getting a little hand clap today? My God, I'm sitting in the whole seat. My man, Trainer Clint Paris, is on the road in Tallahassee. In fact, with my lovely guest here, we're loving nemesis of each other. She represents the Democratic extreme left wing. I'm just joking with her. But we have my good friend Robin Lockett and everything. But those of you who are going to FAMU's first game today, they play this evening, Alabama A&M on campus. We want you to be careful up there. A lot of bad traffic all over the place. And all those of you who went to the games last night in the Hillsborough, Pinellas County area, a lot of the games were good games. I want to remind Robin, I got to, we're going to do with some local news, then we're going to get into a couple of national things. We're going to be moving fast this morning. But, folks, adults and kids, they have a dress code for a reason. Read the dress code for these games and all. Mothers, dads, you can't let your daughters come out to a game with shorts beyond Daisy Duke shorts. They're not going to let them in the game. I'm looking. I went to a couple of games the last 3 weeks, Robin. The dress code there is for a reason. Some of the kids are coming with almost no clothes on, and then they do the MF and all that against the school staff. But you can't come to a football game, and I'm looking at some of them look like middle school or younger high school, and you can't come like you're going to a strip club. It just don't make sense. Then last night I'm looking at some of the parents even getting ready to go to the big game like Onward and Tech and Blake and King and Jefferson. Why do that? There's a rule. If you want to enjoy the luxury of hardly having nothing on, stay home. It could be a romantic venture with that. Trust me, adults that is. But parents, when you bring your kids to a game, half halters, beyond Daisy Dukes and all, and then you complain when the school officials say, hey, we have a dress code for a reason, and then you can complain about what everybody's looking at. Well, what you expect, I tell people all the time, Robin, they say, well, you look at everything. My eyes are one of my safety tools, so I have to look around and look in front of me so I know I'm safe in the whole bit. And so when I see people with hoods on and leather jackets and it's 90 degrees outside, I get scared. But, I went to the games last night. We got to clean that up. We have to clean. You know what I'm saying?
I'm surprised they have. I mean, this is new to me. I can understand a dress code in regards to safety. Where when I was growing up, because I used to go to the football games. I actually watched the football games, right? But girls used to dress up in heels. That's how they, girls that didn't know about football. But I'm surprised that they have to have a dress code outline.
Well, you teach that at home, and I'm like you. I'm looking at these guys here, and I understand that prison mentality. I don't like it where we show our underwear and all. And then you got the jeans down to you, just above your knees, and a couple of guys had on three layers of boxer shorts. What is that? And so people say, well, I can dress what I want when you're home, but there are certain decorum and rules out there that you got to deal with. Now, so I just want to get that out of the way. When they don't let the kids come in, or they don't let you as adults come in, dress modest.
That's interesting.
But you see it all the time, and the school system has a right to, the dress code and the whole bit. Now, the other local issue, before we get into major issues, this week, a couple of days ago, they arrested 5 young men on the allegations, because that's what they are now. Whether we like it or not, they kept it real cool. But the state attorney's office indicted 5 young men, all African Americans, for allegedly being involved in the murder of the 4-year-old right off of Hillsborough. Sonny Bell, right off of. Okay. Now, 2 schools of thought. If you look in the local papers this morning and online, Councilman Orlando Goods, and I don't blame him, was saying, hey, he's tired of this no snitching rule. He's correct. And he points out that it should not have taken weeks to get these people. But they had to, the police department had to work with what little they had to allegedly get these guys. In fact, one of the guys was arrested. How they identified him, he was out on bond for robbing a service station right up the street from where the shooting occurred. So here he is already. When they arrested him for the incident, they found another gun and all. Whether we like it or not, I don't care if it's all black policemen. We cannot have these thugs, these gangsters who are killing our little children. Now we're in the neighborhood where we got these young jits selling fentanyl and these kind of pills and all. You see it everywhere, and then say, well, you know what, we're not telling on them because they're black. Do you really think they interested in blackness? They interested in your money? They interested in fake stacks, fake power and all. So I want to say that to our community. And it's all communities, whether it's Chicago or whatever. We're not going to be able to move forward as a community, moving forward in a positive way, until we crack down on allowing gangsters and thugs and miscreants and all of that in our neighborhood. And I'm talking about organized. Now, we all get in trouble as a kid. I mean, so did I. But, you know, to take that long, and then some people had the nerve enough, Robin, in some of the Facebook and Instagram sites, you actually have some people who are like, we're a little bit in our group of mid-aged people, and some of the kids talking about they shouldn't have arrested them. Are you crazy? So I just want to, you know. So
is it that the police department didn't get help in solving
well,
that?
they got help. The issue is if you look, no white Klansman came in that neighborhood did that. Okay?
Well, my point is it that they didn't? So if they did get help, because there's what, about 30 some odd unsolved cases. So in this one, with this little girl, I think that they did get help.
Took them too long to get the help.
Regardless, we made that there was a step forward when no one says anything most of the time. So I think that they did get help in solving this case. Because that's why they solved it. If somebody was already in jail and they had a drive-by, they have no fingerprints, any of that stuff. They couldn't identify those people from what they're saying. So they had to piece it together to get help.
What I'm afraid of is it's a blip on the screen. I think the key in this case was an innocent young girl in the age. But I think it's not going to happen on a regular occasion. I'm still thinking about the young man that got gunned down. He didn't say nothing, but going home at 10 o'clock at night right up the street, that hasn't been solved. A lot of. So I'm saying to our community, you have a responsibility to police your own neighborhood. Now, if you caught up in the game, I remember a juvenile that they arrested, and people thought he was evil when he said he was accused of throwing a baby out of the interstate. I don't know whether you remember that.
I remember that.
And so they got mad at him. A lot of the community people say, hey, what the hell is he talking about? Because he says it's a dirty game out here.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? In that mindset of what you see on the street and all, it's still a dirty game. So innocent people like Sonny and other little kids and elderly people get caught up in the dirty game because that's socially hip. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't do that.
So, like with this situation, very, very tragic. But and just in me looking at it from a different view, although because she died maybe 2 months ago. It's
been a while, been a minute.
So for the police to have solved this case, they got some information from somebody, and I hope I'm hopeful that looking at the a different side of this, because there's no positive side, that somebody said something, and hopefully it continues, that they start talking more, right? So whether we think it took too long or not, the community went out. They helped canvass with the police. I'm quite sure the police got tips, which led to the arrest of these men.
Okay, now here's another thing for you. They just had a case here where it was obvious a killing on the interstate. They went to trial. Couple of witnesses recanted and all like that. So of course, the case fell apart. I'm fearful that the same thing may happen in this case. And those who have charged, they have a right to a trial, and their involvement may not be as the shooter. Their involvement may be assisting or whatever the case. So that's what's going on locally. I want to remind everybody that get involved. In Touch News Radio, we have everything in that newspaper. They even you can write an op-ed piece in there. But we got to spread the word. The news comes from within our community, and that's why we have In Touch Radio too, and all like that. And they even have a Republican like me on there, so I know it's solid news. Now, let's get into this issue. I brought it up last week, and people got mad at me.
What's new?
Yeah, what's new, right? and so we're going to talk about it again. I mentioned that the Democrats are their worst enemy. And I'm looking at, they got an infrastructure bill all ready to go. And then we got these fake progressive liberals, including black congressmen too, saying, hey, because we want to protect our position and we want the whole $3.5 trillion on the second bill that they know they're not going to get we're going to vote down the infrastructure bill that barely passed the Senate. All right, look like we got a call coming in, and caller, are you there this morning? Go ahead, caller. Welcome to In Touch News.
Good morning. This is Carl. Hey, I want to comment on the topic that you said about the no snitching rule.
Okay.
Again, I noticed that when you were saying at the end of your comment there, you said the case had fell apart.
No, that was the previous case, Carl. That was the previous case of the interstate killing. That was a different case. They went to jury trial and it fell apart.
Right. So, and that's what the community, these guys go around and they terrorize the community or whatever, or either that, sometimes they either offer support. They go buy the family some groceries or whatever. So they kind of like bribe and then they terrorize the community from either snitch. So it makes them be afraid, because if they don't prosecute the guy gets loose and then he comes back out and he, may assault one of the family members or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. And they do go out and they give them, they pay for their hair and their nails, give them a bottle of Casamigo and Hennessy, whatever.
And they do a little work in the community.
Yeah.
No, I think that they once they find out who says something or who tells what they know, I think that it's a possibility they also, not to rule that out, but also they threaten people, right? They threaten the lives of people, or they try to intimidate those people, because guess what? There's leaks. And that's another thing in regards to people not having the security that their name would not be used. It is completely anonymous and so forth, because there's leaks within the state attorney or the police department. And then, family members can be family members of those individuals, girlfriends of those individuals, and, so I think that's another problem.
Carl, before we go to break, there's no honor among thieves. And guess what? In the long run, as I talk to guys coming out of the institution, there's no honor among criminals either.
Yeah.
And you saw it.
And I got another comment.
Okay, real quick.
I have another comment. Mr. Edwards, you do a lot of good work in the community, man. Keep up the good work. And Robin, it's a pleasure to see your face on Facebook.
Oh, I forgot
Oh,
we're
you
on
can see me?
Facebook. Yes, it's better to see her this morning. It's better to. She got some new glasses too. It's better to see her than me.
Yeah, Robin, those glasses look good on you.
I wish you could
Thank
see.
you.
I wish you could see the title of this Starbucks. She's got a cup with a title written across it.
This young lady, she always, when I go to get coffee and I get a venti water, she writes. She wrote on here yesterday, Miss Pleasant. Always always a pleasure.
All right, so when we come back from our break, we're going to talk about my friends' Democratic Party, why they always kicking themselves in the butt.
Listen, I won't be helped this
well, I'm
morning
going
on
to tell you
that
what's
one.
going to happen. They're going to lose both of them.
Yep.
So we'll be right back. And what do I need to sing to go out on this break? Okay, well, keep the Facebook on Robin this morning. Where you get that new hairdo from?
You know what? I looked for a
And you got new glasses, not Medicaid glasses, but we'll get there. All right. All right, bye-bye.
You're listening to Tampa Bay Tammy
Your girlfriend.
on In Touch Radio. In Touch Radio.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
Hi, this is Angela Birdsong, and during the week, I'm affectionately known as the Medicare lady. Do not try to navigate Medicare without me. Please call me at 813-476-4837. I also do life insurance, and I will help people who are Medicare, Medicaid. Once again, 813-476-4837. 4837.
Cancer affects everyone, but minority populations are often hit hardest. Moffitt Cancer Center is working to address the barriers that keep some groups from getting the care they need. African Americans develop cancer at a younger age, have more aggressive cancers, and experience worse outcomes than the general population.
While cancer treatment is evolving with precision medicine, who is being left behind? We know for many decades that some groups experience a greater burden of cancer than others. We can prevent it, we can detect it early. It's very beatable when we find it early. I have worked with cancer patients during their treatment. All cancer patients have courage.
So my treatment was about 18 months. I had 3 cancers and 7 surgeries. But my son told me, like, Mom, you're the strongest person that I know. Moffitt saved my life.
During COVID-19, Moffitt is a safe place for your cancer care. Call now to schedule an appointment.
Say Miss Robin Bird, but that's not her name. But anyway, my good friend with the Democratic Party, former chairman of the Hillsborough County Democratic Party and the Hillsborough County Black Democratic Party caucus, which the regular Democrats don't really pay any attention to until election time.
Yes, exactly. Okay, that's where we had our rift.
Well, then that's why you leave them alone. Now,
yes.
This Congress thing, I'm looking these 2 issues, but first this infrastructure. And then you got all these so-called progressive congressmen, Cori Bush and Jamal Blackman from New York, and this lady Payel out of Washington. Now, the Senate, when you read the bill for infrastructure, everybody knows we need it. So Biden was able to get it out of the Senate. It's a good bill. And it's not a perfect bill because they always throw in extra stuff that don't even be germane to what
pork.
Okay. It gets over to the House of Representatives, and they say, hey, because the Senate did not put the $3.5 million extra thing that captures daycare and all like that, and Nancy we want to vote on them both together, knowing all the time that you're not going to get both. And my question to you is, why is the Democratic Party, and I'm telling you, I'm surprised about some of the black congressmen that are way over heels with these extreme left-wing progressives and want to vote down an infrastructure bill just to say, hey, we're a new power group, so the one that got out of the Senate, which is a good one, we're going to vote that down because we can't even get a structure in place for the 3.5 million, knowing all the time in that bill that's not going to happen. And so now Manchin and Sienna's come up and said, okay, well, maybe 1.5 million up to 2.3 million, because that's the art of compromise and all. But what's wrong with our brothers and sisters in Congress? And I'm talking about the African Americans that are on the side and said, hey, we're going to vote this infrastructure bill down because we don't like it, we can't vote for the other. Knowing doggone well that the Senate isn't going to vote for the other one, 3.5. They knew that going in. You think that's right. Now, Republicans, we do stuff like that. We say, and I don't agree with Mitch McConnell 90% of the time, but at least we stick to something that's in a better position than the Democrats who are all over the place. Why would black leaders, now them other people, mostly progressives and mostly extreme liberal congressmen,
that's what this just confuses me, because when you ask somebody what is a progressive, you get 20 different answers. So until somebody's really able to clarify that, because what the progressives are asking for are things that the communities and their constituents need. What they want to cover what is hurting, right, with the regular people. The regular people are going through a mom not having enough money because childcare is so expensive. Helping, I think there's something in there helping seniors. And I'll be a
now
senior
that's a
soon.
good one, Robin. That's the second bill. But explain to me and the listening audience, if you got the first bill through the Senate, what's the big issue knowing that you're actually going to have about probably 20 Republicans, if they vote on the infrastructure bill that came out of the Senate, that will vote with all the Democrats to pass it for Biden to sign, and then you start on that other one with daycare. What's the issue? You rather throw both of them out? You rather throw that one out just to prove a point? Really?
I think that they're just pushing the envelope. I think that they know how Congress works. Although Nancy Pelosi says, hey, when we pass this first bill, we're going to look at the second bill. Manchin and Sinema has already, from the $6 trillion dollar bill, has already dwindled it down to $3 trillion. And I think they're just playing cat and mouse. I think the end result would be that they are going to vote on it.
You think they will? Okay. I think they're going to pass it.
I think they'll end up passing it, but I think that they're playing cat and mouse. And my problem is not even with the so-called progressives. My problem is with Manchin and Sinema, who is holding we have an opportunity to pass any legislature that we want, right? And they're holding out on it.
Well, they're not really Democrats. If you know Joe Manchin, he tells you all the time he is a conservative Democrat.
But he voted. How often did he vote with Trump?
Pretty much.
Okay, so when Trump did all of that, spending all that money, he did not have a problem with it.
No, because look where he comes from. If you go to West Virginia, my good man Adrian Wright is up there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still trying to get the barbecue through UPS or something this week. I was not going to send us out there. But if you look at, you got representatives and senators that represent their home state or whatever. West Virginia has always been a very conservative. To an extent, it was a right-wing state. So Joe, his mindset is for the constituency he served. For an example, Kathy Castor has a constituency that's real liberal. My disagreement with her is that she really only comes into the black community for a photo op, and she runs from people who challenge her with her thinking and all. So, she's not really, she may give the appearance that she understands the black community causes and pain and all, but I don't think she does. What she does is she understands how to get along with the uppity black community. So each, like you said, each elected person.
Whose fault has that been all these years?
Well, once we
because they have these black liaisons.
Well, they have it, and we don't see them.
And we don't, yeah. So,
but this infrastructure bill is a little bit. I mean, we really need that now. If you the latest thing was Manchin, and he knows that the Republicans. I don't mind saying it. I don't like the position that they're taking up in Washington, that the Republicans just ain't gonna vote for anything.
The same position they took with Barack Obama.
Right. So they're just gonna do that. So eventually those extremists are gonna fade out. But the other thing, what Manchin talked about in his latest piece was that he wants to do something primarily for children and those who are on their way out of life, the seniors. Now, some people have argued this week in local communication conversations that, hey, what about the rest of us? Because they got mad at him by saying he doesn't want entitlement programs. And I remember when all of I was talking to some people about jobs. They got plenty of jobs opening in the Tampa Bay area, plenty. Run across some people, they don't want to work because they don't like the time they have to go to work. They don't want to work because it's not enough money. Yet they don't have the education or the skills to commensurate what they think they should be making. So you're not getting no stimulus check. You got to take care of your children. You got to have a roof over your head and all. But because it's not tailor-made for you and you don't have no experience, you're not going to work at all. So that's what gets people mad about saying, hey, they want this $3.5 trillion. Yes, let's bring in child care. We need it. Let's take care of the elderly. Let's get our children up to speed with some type of funding for community college and all. But, I really think from a black perspective, the black Democrats who are falling in line with these progressives are only good is when you don't have too many blacks that live in their neighborhood. But if you look at the super liberal progressives in the Democratic Party, they have their own unique agenda where they just have a couple of black figureheads or whatever, and then that's enough. And that's where we're making a mistake. And that's where a lot of people, even African Americans now, are going more independent. Because like Malcolm X says, we don't really have any part. You know what I'm saying?
So the Democratic Party has not been a friend of ours, but the key to that is that we haven't held the Democratic Party accountable. In regards to putting the right people in place, because as history has shown, nothing gets passed unless blacks are on board, right? We're voting in the same direction. So the Democratic Party has taken our votes for granted, but we haven't held them accountable in doing so.
Well, you can do that locally because we've had a chance for the last 4 election cycles to have a second black on the county commission. They didn't want to vote for one black because he was a preacher, all this other kind of fools. And, so now, even with the school system, they didn't want to vote for this black man because he's a Republican, but yet they put a candidate as a gay person up who never really came into our community except for a photo op and all. That's when they had the guy, later he was trying to get the state Democratic chairmanship, and they voted him out. And he admitted that he got in the school board race because the polls were showing Stanley Gray would make a runoff with Lynn Gray, and then the Democratic Party didn't want to give the money to Noreen Copeland because they felt that she wasn't competent enough. And it's
a lot of that's why the local DEC we did not get along because of all that nonsense. I can see if Hillsborough County Democratic Black Caucus was supposed to, our goal was to provide information to the community, push the community out, and also put qualified blacks in office. I couldn't see where we were not going to bump heads because of who we wanted versus who they wanted. But they held the purse strings. But if the black community band together and vote in a block, that will bring everything to a halt in regards to us getting what we want.
When we come back, we'll talk about the second thing. I thought I was going to have to get Anna to drive me home incognito, because I said last week that the criminal justice reform bill was doomed to fail with even two brothers leading. So when we come back, we want to hear your thoughts on that with Tim Scott and Cory Booker and why that thing failed. This is In Touch Radio. Noise is straight up the middle. I'm always saying not straight down the middle, straight in the middle, won't be like that. And it's Saturday morning. Did you forget to say good morning to your loved one this morning? Even if one eye open, you know what a safety helmet on. Either way, we'll be right back.
So believe me, down 813-248-683. Everything gon' be okay, go Ricky, he coming. He think he can't stand up Florida, but I'm in the sun down. 1-800-361 Ray. That's 1-800-361-42. Never word from the point forward, just ask Ricky plus your boy Stick. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 1-800-361 Ray. Oh, Ricky, that's legal medical referrals. Lawyers network are trained in handling violence. That's medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ass Ricky. Hey, this is Atty White, better known as Mr. Clean. Looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers on the grill. Located 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, biscuit, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some. Get you a nice, slow cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Red Man, mama, the Red Man.
It comes to alien radio. Everyone is a star.
Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be.
On your smooth soul and R&B station. In Touch Radio.
Trap players or whatever the case may be, because you know it's
a trap player. What is a trap player?
A trap player is one who claims he has a lot of traps but can't even find the first one.
So what's a trap?
Well, no, this is not the show for that. I'll wait till we be on with Dale or somebody later.
You have to break it down to me because there's new terminology.
Can you imagine the producer how immune she is to traps and all that I can? All right. But anyway, I want to remind everybody, seriously note, that this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Mm-hmm. And I want to thank the Mrs. Griffin and Principal Salters over at Blake, because the band members had the pink ribbon on their uniform. But sisters, Robert, I can tell you, when I was served as a governor's appointee on the Children's Board, one of the disappointing thing to me was I saw, and it was free, I saw a lot of Hispanic mothers taking advantage of breast cancer testing and all. But young African American women would not. I don't want nobody in my business, and all. And you know, breast cancer is a real killer among the black community. It's just like cervical cancer and colon cancer. So those of you,
it's just a 2-time breast cancer survivor.
Yeah. So those of you who trying to make a play, forget about the partying aspect. If you want to be a real man, brother, step up. The girl you're going with, the wife you with, whatever, and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to get involved with men's, because I'm a cancer survivor too, men's health awareness, and I want my lovely queen or my Nubian princess to go. It's free. It's a lot of information out there. So we want you to take in mind for that as y'all celebrate the Libras or whatever out there. So it's a health issue.
Yeah, even with that, I think that it is tough being a woman, and it's tough. It's tough being a black woman. I think that there are, in many cases, not all, but in many cases, you have so many roles that you're playing, right? That you don't be mindful of taking care of yourself until something hits you to make you think that something is wrong, and then you have to get care for it and so forth. But I think we have so many juggling balls in the air that, sometimes, although bad, we don't take care of things.
Well, I can tell you, In Touch News has health articles in it, even on the radio show now. So let's pay attention to it. Let's also pay attention to other illnesses that you may have. Get those booster shots.
Booster shots
for the COVID, and all. But you know what's surprising to me? I find a lot of people have still not taken the first shots. So they're finding out. It's a funny thing. I had a friend of mine found out that they had COVID because they thought there was just pneumonia. So it wound up being COVID and pneumonia. But people got different opinions on the shots. But because what's happening, before we get to the other major issue, this is a national issue. There's a movement now, including African Americans and all Americans. But there's a group now that's saying, hey, we want to get out of being required for us, but particularly our children, to take any shot.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, break it down. Where's the line you cross? You go with diphtheria, TB, and mumps and all like that. That's fine, but not the COVID. I mean, because a lot of African Americans
thing about COVID has been that was in real time. I think that with diphtheria, in there chickenpox vaccine, all of those things, correct. So no one questioned that. For one, because a lot of times we just did what the doctor told us to do, right? For two, that those things were tested and then presented. I think that the scary part about the what people are afraid of, and I'm not including the ones that that just don't have the knowledge and they're just on the out saying just to say no. But I think a lot of people have questions about COVID because it happened in real time. How many tests are you supposed to get? Now that they have the ability to ask questions, with all of these other shots, they didn't have to have the ability because they were already there. They were already ready. There was already a requirement. And once the government says, and I know they're kicking themselves in the butt now, but once the government says that, hey, we are not going to make it mandatory, thinking in their small minds that people were just going to run to it, and when people didn't, now they have to think about other ways to make it mandatory. If you want your job, we're not telling you got to take it, but if you want your job, you have to, we're requiring all our people to, it's double standards, and I agree with it. I agree with it. Just take the shot, but I think the whole how they handled it was totally wrong.
And while we got you with that, do you sing, by the way?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I could sing. I cannot sing a note.
All right.
I love to sing. I cannot sing.
Well, see, can you put a hymn and let the listeners know what the call-in number is? Because it's behind me. And since you get more play on Facebook with your beauty this morning, and those, I can't get over those glasses. I'm telling you,
for those who don't know my relationship with Pete has, from the first time I met Pete has always been the man with words.
Well, they look good. I give her sister credit when it's there, and then I give her encouragement when she needs to get there. So what's our number? It's on the board behind me, the In Touch call.
Feel free to call in. The call-in number is 813-444-9588. Again, 813-444-9588. And you know what? Welcome your call.
Yeah, you know what I like about them numbers? They're good play 4 and play 5 numbers if you want. All right, let's get into this other one. while we had that last commercial break, I asked Robin on a serious note because I got beat up after I got off the air last week. People say I shouldn't criticize the black senators, Cory Booker and Tim Scott. I had told Clint way before that criminal justice reform bill would not pass. Now, Tim Scott, he says that the reason why they couldn't get together out of the Senate on the bill was that they wanted to defund the police. Cory Booker, the police union, some of them, and some of the other Chamber of Commerce people say, no, that was not the issue because that was not even put in like that. The extra money was to go for mental health and all. If you were Senator Robin Lockett,
a whole lot of things would change.
What type of, you're not going to get qualified immunity out of there. What do you think the basis framework for a winnable but effective criminal justice reform bill?
I think what has been proposed. I think that increasing mental health awareness. I think that all the training that officers receive in regards to being all the training that officers receive in regards to having sensitivity and all of that, they need to be trained how to identify a person that's having a breakdown or being able to de-escalate that. How to de-escalate a situation, that would be a top of my priority. But
and that's a key. People don't realize, Robin, it's mental health issues on both ends.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you see enough murders or whatever the case may be. Oh, look at me. I got my light blue on today. But, that's the thing. One of the things I told Clinton, our listening audience, the last 2 weeks, that a lot of times in the legislature process, people just be faking it to make it.
Exactly.
I told Clint that, as far as I'm concerned, Cory Booker is similar to Clarence Thomas.
Cory Booker?
I'm sorry, not Cory Booker.
I was going to say the other guy.
Tim Scott is similar to Clarence Thomas.
When they named him as being a part of it, I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere because he's trying to prove a point. They put this black man in this to try to resolve things. Two black men in this, to try to resolve things, and he don't have any power. He's trying to still be.
Well, he wants to. He's running for re-election.
Yeah.
He wants to make a lot of money when he gets out of the Senate because remember, if he gets re-elected, he's committed to doing his last term. At the same time, he's going to be one of those going out or whatever to try to make money. And then when you look at Cory Booker,
he's going to do his last term. What do you mean?
Tim Scott, he's running for re-election, and he's already told the people from South Carolina that if he gets re-elected, that will be his.
Oh, he's making it his last term. Okay.
When you look at a person like Cory Booker, you know what comes to my mind? He can't identify outside of his region in the Northeast, where he's from, Newark, New Jersey, or whatever.
Yeah.
Guess what? Outside of that area, and maybe the upper black middle class, he can't identify with regular black people, hard-working blue-collar people.
Why do you say that?
The record speaks for itself.
What was he?
He was the mayor, I believe, of Newark. Okay, but when you look at the guys, both of them track record, and you look at who they talk to and all, they only see black candidates and black elected officials. To me, as I observe them, and you know me, I do a lot of research and study. When you don't see them really hanging with blue-collar black community people or low-income black people or coming to really talk and work with the homeless and all without an entourage or a photo camera, whatever.
Okay, so you're saying all politicians, so that's not...
I'm a brother. I'm thinking to me, here's the thing. I want black representation that they don't have to be told over and over again to go down on 29th and Lake, that they can find it on their own. And what's happening with and people say, well, they do all politicians. That's true, but I'm black first. I'm black first.
So the same emphasis they get when they're running, that same emphasis has to be there. So it has to be the black community that's demanding for these people to come back and letting them know that, hey, don't come in here when they do come during election time. Don't come through here when it's just this time.
Well, you know why we don't
call
do
them
it?
out.
Well, you know why we don't do it? Because we go with this old adage from way back in the 30s, you don't air out your dirty laundry in public. Well, my God, we're going to laundromats all over the place, and we got to take the dirty laundry out the back. So when we come back next week, Clint will be here. I think I'm gonna be here. I got two funerals to go to, including I lost my roommate and good friend Randall C.
Oh yeah, that was tough.
And that funeral is scheduled next week around the same time. But we'll work it out. Listening audience, I hope you enjoy us on Facebook and what have you. I did get a haircut and shave this week, which is a little different. Some people say it's because of the first of the month. I got that joke, but it's not about that. And I knew Robin was coming in. Your sister, you and Anna, y'all are trouble. But like John Lewis says, good trouble. You know what I mean? So fellas, respect our sisters, your daughters and beyond your daughters and your wives and girlfriends. Every sister has power. She will share it with you if you earn it. And she will share it with you if you don't want it all at one time. And she will share it with you if from time to time when you're with the boys you acknowledge that I wouldn't be as strong as I am without a sister. I'm just saying that, not trying to use that as leverage with Robin or anybody listening on the air. I'm just being real. So we'll see you next week on we're going on a break. We're going on a break. I was going to go. Well, you know what? I was thinking about them donuts from last week. So I was going to go. So when we come back on the break, we're going to let Robin introduce a couple of topics that she thinks is important. And you're somebody. Well, I'm a gentleman. So we'll be right back, and I will be there later. I will be there later for you. One way or other, I will be there. All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Angela Birdsong, and during the week, I'm affectionately known as the Medicare lady. Do not try to navigate Medicare without me. Please call me at 813-476-4837. I also do life insurance, and I will help people who are Medicare, Medicaid. Once again, 813-476-4837. 4837.
All you sports fans, tune in every Monday morning to listen to Whacked Up Mondays with Michael Clayton. You don't want to miss this.
On In Touch Radio.
You've been injured, you deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is Attorney Clinton Paris from the Law Office of Clinton Paris. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, Attorney Clinton Paris, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at parislawoffice.com. At the Law Office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
Today's R&B. Smooth touching jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
I'm coming here with a towel so people know that I can be dignified on a Saturday morning. It's tough coming off of happy hours or whatever, you know. And I thank you for letting me step up my game. Now, we want to remind everybody again that we take it serious about health. Brothers, don't wait till you're 50 and 60 and talking about you need a colonoscopy or you need to get your prostate checked out. No, man. The real men step up when they need to step up early in the game, because we need you to help those who are coming behind us. One of the things that when I talk to young people, whether they've been in trouble before or not, the first thing they say to me is, where are the men without the fanfare. Now, you know what they mean by that? That you're there without bragging about what you got going. But you're there to look, listen, and learn, and offer sincere help to work with those who are behind you.
So
you feel me with that?
And I think with the, I'm gonna cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I think with that also is that I know men that want to that they've changed their lives. They want to be involved and they want to help young people, right? Not to go down the path that they've gone. But with that, there's restrictions, where there's boundaries.
Oh yeah.
You can't have a felony. You can't do this. You can't do that, and that limits the participation on a large scale, right? Because we're talking about kids that get in trouble. We're not, we're looking for support for kids that are not in trouble, but we're really looking for support for kids that are going down the wrong road. And a lot of times, a person that has never been arrested can't really guide that person per se, right? To not get in trouble because they haven't experienced. They've been on the right and narrow a long time.
I mean, what some of my greatest strengths when I'm out in the street is that extra strength I need of encouragement and all, is when I come across brothers who have stuck to their faith and their commitment to be recovering addicts.
Yeah.
I mean, to see these guys that they take one day at a time, they take the serenity prayer, they've gotten custody of their kids, it's business with them because of what they've gone through and their commitment.
And that is a mental health issue.
It really is.
It really,
so you got to stay prayed up and you got to be mentally healthy.
Yeah.
Now, as we do on In Touch News and everything, we want to remind ladies, read that, what's that Tampa Bay Tammy newsletter. I forgot what it's called right now. Tampa Bay Tammy girlfriend. Let me tell you, I feel humble when I read it. And what I like about her letter, the insight is good, but it keeps you grounded. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, we're going to turn this segment over because I always like to hear what a sister got to say that we missed. And guys, don't think it's always women against men. No, sometimes brothers miss an overall issue that's beneficial to all of us as a community. You know that. And so, Robin, I know you got a couple of things on your mind that you want to tweak the audience with, but help us, because when we leave here, there's still work to do. Every time I go by the sheriff's office annex over on 8th Avenue, they named it after Freddie Solomon. And Freddie, there's got a scripture that says, I kneel before the throne of King Solomon, the greatest king of all. And the king says, and yet there's still work to do. And it inspires me because when I think that I've done all I can because of age or whatever the case may be, no, man, you live for a purpose to do the work. So sisters take that same approach. So what do you got on your mind today that can strengthen our community? Yeah, we're gonna fuss and fight, but at the end of the day, we do have to help each other to achieve, so we can let our work speak for itself as we move on. What you got?
So what is prevalent in our community right now, outside of the unfortunately the crime that's going on, are evictions. Right? There's like 10,000 standing evictions that's happening right now. And I think it's very important, it's so easy to paint a picture that, like you pointed out earlier, people not wanting to work, people waiting for assistance under these entitlement programs, people got a lot of money and didn't pay their rent. But there's some real people out there that is robbing Peter to pay Paul. They lost their job has disappeared. They don't have the skills, because that job has disappeared, they don't have the skills to, right, apply for these jobs.
And the children suffer.
100%.
You've been out there with these apartments, rundown apartments. I'm just following this situation in Jacksonville where DeSantis says HUD had, and people say, well, he's just doing that for political reasons. But when you look at how long they've been trying to get HUD to fix up those apartments in Jacksonville. It's crazy. So what I found out interesting, that a lot of landlords who are evicting people are Hispanic, white, and black. They're trying to, but where do we draw the line with regards to governmental involvement in eviction, and where do we draw the line as far as the residents taking care of business, they're making sure that they don't get evicted? Because a lot of times they get evicted because they damage the property. Forget about the crime and all, they just tear up everything.
Well, I think that in this environment, I think that the landlords are taking advantage of it because it's a monetary thing. It's how much money they can make. They want the people that's paying $1,000 to get out. They don't want them in there, right? They're not even accepting the rental assistance that's available to them. So they're just wanting those people out. They're going to put paint and carpet into place and rent it out for $1,400, right? Mm-hmm. It is serious. I think for so long people have taken the position that, landlords have all of the rights, but there's a loophole in every law.
Absolutely.
Right? So in regards to looking at things differently, I think that there needs to be a tenant's bill of rights with teeth in it. I think that code enforcement, because now code enforcement goes out to these properties and code enforcement can't do anything. Right? They send people from the state here locally to inspect properties. And now what we're finding out is that code enforcement that comes down from the state don't go inside their properties. We started out our campaign with Florida Rising, looking for people to assist regarding evictions.
Right.
What we found in knocking on those doors, now a lot of times with most people, mm-hmm. once they get an eviction or once they're told they're going to be evicted, they pick up and leave. They don't fight it. They don't do any of that. They will pick up and leave.
Let me ask you something, because it has to pain you. People that just pick up and leave, if they just stayed or reached out for help, they probably could stay there.
But you don't know what you don't know.
And is that
historically,
is that self-learning, self-taught?
Yeah. A lot of people, when we used to do this, we still do. We do Know Your Right webinars once a month. They find out what their rights are as tenants, right? And our goal was to keep as many people safe in their apartment during the pandemic, right? Because these landlords were kicking people out.
They were crazy with it, yeah.
So, but they don't know what they don't know. They don't know, and a lot of times people don't read their lease, and that's why even with this TPD housing issue, with them signing an addendum that was created, that was nonsense.
Well, what happened with that? I can testify personally. They just say, hey, this is part of the lease. If you want an apartment, you got to do it. But the thing that gets me in this whole matter, when I look at community groups, when I look at religious institutions, for a long period of time, it's things like that that's not even discussed within the church house. Mm-hmm. They want you to bring your tithes, offering, and all that foolishness, but they're not giving back. So that's why people don't go to churches, whatever. But with all these churches and all, I have yet to see on a continuing basis, even with your group, that churches really got involved. Now, you might have had 2 or 3, but won't teach the people or help them fish for themselves with evictions, with services rendered. I mean, how to get improvement and all. And yet, and I'm sure you find out that most of the people that leave and don't care has been probably young people.
Oh, just a mixture of a lot of people.
So we're gonna be getting back into that too, because that's the issue. I find out before we go, Hillsborough County, for an example, has a ton of money for homeless people, right? But guess what the problem is? No, the landlords and all not making places available to them. They got the highest amount of funding for homeless that they ever had.
So let me put a caveat in that. They have the highest amount, but what they're doing is they are finding homes for these people, but they're the ones that's that's dealing with the timber falls that are slumlords. So they'll go and pay a year's worth of rent for these people, but these people live in disgusting housing, mold, everything.
So we'll be back next week. I can't get over Robin this morning. I'm gonna go out and do a good deed today, Robin. I'm gonna see someone who they may not even think I see them, and buy them a meal, a lunch meal from McDonald's or something. And so we'll see you. Well, it is all right. But anyway, because when you give without worrying about whether they say thank you or not, your blessings come back to you twofold. Okay?
You're giving from your
all
heart.
right, so we'll see you next week when we get our donuts today. I just don't understand it. No barbecue, no donuts, no checks. But I believe in In Touch News Radio and the newspaper. And they gotta read that Tampa Bay Tammy, that girlfriend thing.
Thank you for allowing me to sit in your seat. Keep your seat warm.
Let me
welcome.
Let me read the Facebook. Don't let the voice fool you. I'm young. I'm just saying. We'll see you next week on In Touch News Radio. Bye-bye, everybody.
Catch my show that will be all up in your business. Let's Talk Business with Cheryl J. Couso. Every Wednesday at 12:31 p.m. My business experts provide insight for business entities